I just feel like sometimes I close my eyes and I'm like, wow, we live in a really, really wonderful time because none of this was possible 20 years ago, and I'm just so fortunate.
Ви слухаєте подкаст «ImmigrantPorada». Це програма для іммігрантів, у якій ви дізнаєтесь поради, життєві уроки і історії успіху українців за кордоном.
Всім привіт! Це 41-й епізод «ImmigrantPorada» подкаст, і я ваша ведуча Віра Садлак. Друзі, на радість всім кавоманам всього світу, минулого тижня ми вже розпочали говорити про каву. Нагадаю тим, хто пропустив, минулого тижня в нас в гостях був Анатолій Чизмар, людина, яка розпочала дуже успішний кавовий бізнес в Каліфорнії. А сьогодні в нас в гостях дівчина, чиї роботи ви неодноразово тримали в руках. Більшість з вас. Принаймні ті кавомани і люди, які забігають зранку, щоб в Starbucks, щоб схопити горнятку і побігти на роботу. Так от, сьогодні в нас в гостях Анна Bucciarelli, і її малюнки з елементами петриківського розпису прикрашали різдвяні кружки Starbucks у 2016 році. Так, кружки Starbucks по Америці, Канаді та, я думаю, в інших країнах світу так само були прикрашені її надзвичайними малюнками з елементами, до речі, українського петриківського розпису. Так от, сьогодні з Анною ми будемо говорити про те, як її творчість попала на ці різдвяні горнятка, тому що, як ви далі дізнаєтесь, це була абсолютно така випадкова історія. Анна не планувала ставати відомою художницею, в неї була успішна кар'єра в маркетингу, але в певний момент вона вирішила, що це те, чим вона хоче займатися, і, власне, про це ми сьогодні будемо обов'язково говорити з Анною. Цей подкаст буде англійською мовою, тому що Анна вже, власне, виросла тут, виросла в Канаді, вона зараз живе в Торонто, виховує 2 прекрасних дітей, і я не знаю як, але вона знаходить час на свою нереальну, казкову, фантастичну творчість. Творчість в неї справді дуже цікава, дуже інакша. О Боже, я можу про Анну говорити дуже довго, але що тут говорити про Анну? Давайте хай Анна розкаже сама про себе, окей? Все, поїхали. Hello, Hannah.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for finding time in your busy mom schedule and artist schedule. How's it going, Anna?
It's been a very nice, productive summer so far, and I've been posting a lot of new work, which is exciting. Started teaching recently, teaching art, so it's been busy. But I mean, it's always busy when you have 2 kids and a job. Right? I'm sure your listeners can relate.
You have 2 kids already?
I have 2 under 5.
Wow, Anna, and a career. How are you managing it all? We're gonna talk about it definitely, but let's start with a short game. So every time when we start the podcast, we play this little blitz questions game. So I'm gonna ask you 5 really quick questions, and you should answer the first thing that comes into your mind. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, Anna. So what is the best thing that has happened to you this week?
The best thing.
Mm-hmm.
My son, my 4.5-year-old, was very well behaved for quite a long period of time. He's usually, on a mission to cause trouble. And then he, on his own volition, just started building this amazing Lego structure, which I found to be quite impressive. So I was just really proud of his effort.
Cool. It's a nice highlight of the week, that's for sure. Okay, the last movie or TV series you've watched. I know you probably don't have much time.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
That's a hard one probably for mom of 2.
That's right. I other than cartoons, the way I find time to paint, having a job and kids, is I just cut the TV out completely out of my schedule. That said, I am obsessed with Game of Thrones, and I was very upset about the last season. I don't know how you listeners feel, or even if they're watching Game of Thrones, but that was basically the last big show I've watched.
Yeah.
And
I thought you were going to say something like Peppa Pig or Paw Patrol.
I mean, obviously I Peppa Pig, yes, all the Peppa Pig and all the Paw Patrol and Pocoyo and I don't know what else, but I try to kind of, if I sit there and I watch it.
Because I have like 4-year-old or 3-year-old niece and we have like Peppa Pig everything.
Of course.
She's just like so obsessed. Okay, tea or coffee?
Coffee. Both. Sorry, both.
Both? Okay, Starbucks or Tim Hortons?
Starbucks.
You might be a bit biased, I guess.
A little bit, tiny bit biased.
Tiny bit, yes. As a kid, what did you want to be after growing up?
I wanted to be a teacher, like an art teacher.
An art teacher. Oh, wow. That's something you are pretty much doing right now.
With
your online course.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Anna, let's talk about a bit you, so people know where are you coming from and who you are. So I know that right now you are in Toronto, and were you born in Toronto or did you move there?
I moved to Toronto from Kiev in 1997. Mm-hmm. So that would make me... I'm not going to reveal my age, but let's just say that was 22 years ago.
Nice. Yeah, I moved to Toronto from Kiev as well, like 6 years ago. So yeah, so we are from the same city, I guess. Yeah. So I remember just like when I first came to Toronto, it was January 2014. I realized that my winter coat is not a winter coat at all, actually. that feeling when I just like stepped out of the airport and air just hurted my face. Wow, I will not forget it. Ever.
We landed in January as well, and it was quite a revelation how cold it can get in Toronto.
Right.
So we get 2 weeks of summer. That's nice.
Like 2 seconds, more like 2 seconds, right? They say that summer is the best day in Canada.
That's right.
Okay, so you mentioned that when you were growing up, you wanted to be an art teacher. Like, did you go to an art school when you were a kid, or maybe your parents influenced you? Where does this?
I did. I actually attended 3 different schools, and my parents, who are amazing because they've encouraged all sorts of creative activities in me and really supported me. They kind of helped me discover what I now do more or less for a living. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it was an art school. So every day after regular school, they would take me to the art school for 4 hours, where I just basically learned the fundamentals. And art schools back home, by home I mean Ukraine, mm-hmm. are a bit more intense, and like in a traditional sense, they kind of give you all the foundations. Mm-hmm. I wasn't by no means like the best student. I pretty much sucked at watercolors and sculpture. But it was fun because I had my friends there, and I was able to kind of just learn the basics. And then the best part is I kind of just by being encouraged by my parents, I tried different teachers, and one day discovered this decorative art teacher who was coming to my regular school just kind of after hours, and mm-hmm. she was teaching Petrikivsky Rospis. Mm-hmm. And so that was when I really kind of discovered what I'm passionate about and what I'm good at, because those things are usually overlap. So I'm like, by nature, I think I'm a decorative artist, even though these days I do all sorts of things. But I think Petrikivsky Rospis was something that really, really I could relate to. And I just I studied it for a couple of years and even started working. I remember working on some like decorative sets that were sold in an art store in Kiev on the Andreevsky Uзвіз.
Wow.
And I was pretty young, like I was 12 years old, but I just somehow got the technique and understood sort of all the key strokes, and I loved doing it. So my mom would tell me that I would sometimes sit like from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 at night. I mean, I'm a huge introvert, so time was just flying. I didn't really care, and I would just paint and paint. And but at the same time, interestingly, I was preparing to go into university and study political science. So I think, you know, I kind of separated my hobby from my career ambitions early on, and later on, like 20 years later, kind of came full circle. But at the time, I just, really enjoyed.
And that's pretty much what you did later in Canada, because I know that you have the bachelor degree in design, if I'm not mistaken, and you have the business degree as well, right?
Yeah, so you can see kind of the bipolar approach that I took. But I mean, I'm also quite practical, and so when we came to Canada, we didn't have, like, I was 16. I think I just inadvertently did reveal my age, but at the time I was 16 years old, and you know, I had an option of going back to high school or continuing to university. My parents had to, you know, we didn't have a lot of savings, and so my goal was really to find a good job first and foremost. So I sort of did a dual degree. I majored in design, which was kind of a way for me to combine the artistic side, but also the technology side. And, you know, maybe at the time, that was my understanding, that the better creative jobs were in design, not necessarily in fine arts. I also minored in history, but also, like, 3 years into my undergrad, realized that I should probably get a business degree, because if I really want to be able to support myself and have a lot of different career options, you know, that would give me more options. And so I pursued my MBA when I was 25.
Wow.
And like almost straight after undergrad. And so that really kind of changed my life and career course for quite some time.
Right. And you even had a successful career in marketing communications, right?
Right. Yeah. I worked for Procter & Gamble, you know, eventually moving into healthcare, which is where I am right now. But, you know, I think there are a lot of similarities, not similarities, but there are a lot of, like, kind of common skills that you can have, whether you're in business or you're an artist. I think, you know, they're not mutually exclusive, and I've always been good with numbers thanks to my dad. So he's an engineer, so I kind of, you know, very fortunate that I was able to do both, and that's what I did.
So, and when was there, like, a pivotal moment that when you decided to become an artist? Did you quit your 9-to-5 and starting doing your amazing art, or how was it? How's this transition process was?
I like your questions. This only works in retrospect, though. Like, you know, I don't think there's ever, like, a pivotal moment in life. I think it's more of a series of steps you take in a certain direction, and then it's sort of like a butterfly effect unfolds. So I wouldn't say there was one big moment. There were a couple of moments that were definitely like, wow, I used to paint, and maybe I should paint now, and I think people like it. But for the longest time, like, I wouldn't take those moments and say, yeah, okay, time to quit my full-time job.
Right.
That I worked so hard to get. But so what happened essentially is when I got pregnant, I had to, you know, stop traveling, stop working, and stay home for a bit, and kind of had a chance to slow down, essentially. And I mean, I dabbled a bit through the years. Like, I'd never completely abandoned painting, but it would be like once a month I would something and maybe doodle something, and that was about it. And so when I had all this time to think, not so much paint, but just to kind of, you know, you're there with the baby and you're thinking about what it is that you want to do, I started sketching more. I would literally, like, hold them in one hand and, like, just doodle. And then I kind of started getting ideas, and then I was getting more ideas, and it just kind of started flowing out of me.
Wow.
And it at the same time coincided, I think, with, and that was, the fortunate timing of the social media, and especially, the visual social media sites like Instagram were really, really booming, right? Like that was kind of the, not the early days, but that was definitely around the time when you couldn't avoid it. Like if you're an artist, or if you're into art, or if you
had to be there,
fashion, you would see that stuff on Instagram. And so I can't remember who, but someone encouraged me to share. Mm-hmm. And so I did. And I also, being a bit more business minded, I also created a portfolio on what is now Adobe Behance. And I just kind of posted a couple of Petrikivka works that I had from the past, and a couple of watercolors. And that's it. And I never really expected much, other than people were like, okay, that's nice. And then something happened. Royal Canadian Mint. No, first Jaguar, and then Royal Canadian Mint found me on Behance.
Found you. Wow.
Yeah. So I never, this is the funny, I don't know if that's what you expect from career advice, but I think that what I did right was that I shared my work. And I think the point that I'm trying to kind of get across here is that people are not going to discover you if you're just, doing something in your basement and you're afraid to share it. Like what I did right, and what I think was essential to kind of kickstart my art career, was the sharing, and sharing strategically. So just having a website is not enough. You have to be on social media, because that's where creative directors are. That's where product managers are. And so I'm not going to lie, like my first email that I got, and it was a job to illustrate an ad campaign for Jaguar.
Wow.
I looked at it and I thought, okay, that's a scam. And I almost deleted it, right?
Yeah, because when you see the signature Jaguar at the bottom of the email, it's like...
It was their agency, Young and Rubicam, and I knew about it just from my marketing profession, but I didn't believe it, and I called my husband, and I was like, this is such nonsense. Like, why are people pranking me? It turned out to be my job. Yeah. So and then when the government of Canada asked me to pitch a coin design for them, because at the time they were looking for artists who were good at kind of the decorative, very detailed, ornate decorative illustrations. That's when I kind of felt, okay, something is happening. Perhaps I'm good enough to actually do this kind of work. And so that's why I say, like, there wasn't one moment, it was kind of a series of moments. And so after that, it was sort of the ball started rolling, and I realized I need to share more. Then the Starbucks cup happened. And,
right.
The rest is history.
So the Starbucks holiday cup was not your lucky break, right? You had a successful project.
No, it was a very cool thing that happened. And I think for because I used so much of the decorative strokes that I've learned in Petrikivka, and I made sure that, when I kind of described my creative approach, that they took note and actually mentioned it. I think Ukrainian media picked it up very quickly.
Oh yeah, it was huge. There are so many articles on the media. I think even Premier Minister of Ukraine, he shared it on his Twitter or something, or on his Instagram. That's insane. Yeah. For those who don't know about all this Starbucks Holiday Red Cup, can you tell a few words about this project? What was it, and how you won it?
So the Starbucks Red Cups, they're it's kind of, in the small world of coffee marketing or consumer brands, it's kind of a big deal, because they come out once a year around Christmas, and they usually have very unique designs. And so there was a lot of controversy for a couple of years in North America around the fact that, is it Christmas? Is it other holidays? Because obviously, we have lots of different cultures here and people celebrate. In any case, I think I'm not sure. I'm not, I haven't really seen any explanation as to why. But one year they basically said, okay, that's it. We're going to come up with a red cup, but it's not going to have any design on it. It's going to be blank. And that was kind of whoever came up with that idea was a genius, because what people started doing was drawing on those cups. And they would draw whatever design they wanted to see. And of course, they would share it on social media. So,
right. It's a genius marketing, yeah.
It was like the engagement that they got from that one blank cup idea was just incredible. And they are in 75 countries. So you can imagine like thousands and thousands and thousands of people would doodle. And I'll never forget my friend Jason called me up and said, listen, you got to do this. Like, or he didn't call me, he, I think, tagged me on Instagram and said, you got to do this. You got to do your own version.
Oh, and God bless Jason.
Shout out Jason.
Shout out.
Who's also brilliant in marketing. But in any case, I did. I had a couple hours, and so I did. And I got a call from Starbucks a couple months later.
And you thought that it was a prank as well, or?
Oh, definitely. I mean, come on.
Jaguar, then Canadian government, then this, then Starbucks.
Yeah, it was all kind of like around the same time when I started sharing a lot, and that's
all with a baby in one hand, right? And
second baby was on the way. I was heavily pregnant when we traveled to New York to see the unveiling of the Starbucks cups. We met other artists who
that's insane.
Created.
And I read that there were like 1,200 submissions or something. Like
yes, what they did is they I think they went through Instagram, which had more than 12, probably like thousands and thousands. They picked 1,200, and then they went through a very long process, and I had to keep it a secret for almost a year. They basically had to narrow it down to I think 10 cups, and they did. And so I ended up being one of the winners, which was amazing. And I think like the coolest thing about it was not so much the cup itself, but the fact that I was able to use like those same techniques that I've learned when I was 11 years old back in Kyiv. And so like, even though it doesn't look like traditional Petrikivka, like I recognize that it's not like straight up what you would see on a traditional Petrikivka.
Yeah, but you still can feel the
but
vibe,
the train
right?
is there, yeah, and it's that kind of very organic type of strokes. In any case, I can go on and on about it, but I was very proud. I hope my parents proud. All their efforts paid off taking me to art school.
What it felt like to hold your very own Starbucks cup for the first time? It must have been like amazing.
It was wild. Like they flew us to New York, me and my husband, and again, like I said, I was pretty pregnant, so I was full of hormones and just thinking, oh my God, this is like the wildest week of my life. And then we saw the big premiere, or I guess what they call it, like in Times Square when they put it on the big billboard, and that was it. I was just like, okay, I can go home to Toronto and just
and live happily ever after. I'm done. Wow. And you've even met Howard Schultz, right? The chairman and chief executive of Starbucks.
He's lovely. Yeah.
What is he like in real life? Is he like celebrity-ish? Or
he's a creative genius, obviously. Right. He also, I think, tried to run for president or I can't remember if he did, but he announced. So he's obviously very, very interesting personality. I spoke to him for no more than 2 minutes, really, but he did kind of stayed with our group, and he showed us his new concept store. So it was just, it was really, really cool. And it was awesome of him to take the time to meet with people who do the art stuff.
Right.
And as a marketer, like wearing my marketing hat, I mean, obviously I was in awe, right? There are only a few of these. He's a visionary, so it's really.
Oh yeah. So did this Starbucks holiday cup, did it really help your career as an artist? Do you feel it give you this boost or?
I never really looked for a boost per se, because I have a full-time job. I have 2 kids. So I've been in a fortunate position until recently, where like I wasn't looking for work, but if work to me, like I do enjoy making coins for a Royal Canadian Mint, obviously.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, so those are like amazing long projects that take about a month or so to complete, and they're, you know, obviously high profile, very interesting, and when you like get to see it produced a year later, it's just an amazing feeling. So, you know, I also really like doing custom portraits and like stuff like that, because it just makes me happy. So every once in a while I would take a few commissions if I have time, because I have to paint. Like once I started, it was 5 years ago. Once I started again, I never really stopped. So I paint almost every day. So why not make something for other people and share my work? And then I started teaching. But to be honest with you, all the projects that I've done since then, where they came to me and I wasn't necessarily seeking work, if that makes any sense.
Okay. So at some point of your life, you were combining full-time job, motherhood, this side hustle, pretty much. So you never actually like transition into being a full-time artist, right?
Not exactly. I mean, up until a couple months ago, I was working full-time in a job, and these days we made a decision that I have to take just a little bit of time off of the kids. The kids are really small, and we both barely were keeping up, so I don't know what the future holds, but definitely now I have more time to work on art projects, and I started teaching online, which has been tremendously.
Tell more about it, because you said that you just started, and I see that over 300 people have already enrolled in your course. That's huge.
And that was like in a week, which was amazing.
That's insane,
I hear some noise, so we're gonna probably pass because.
That's fine. That's fine. We don't hear it, so we can just like keep going. Yeah. So that was interesting experience, and again, it kind of I feel like it's like a new wave of possibilities arising from with internet being more available to like high speed internet and social media. Just being more and more kind of a regular part of our lives. Right.
I think, and you can sort of see it like the online classes that you can take. You can learn anything. You can Google something and people post amazing content. And, sometimes there's crap. Sorry, am I allowed to say that word?
Yes, absolutely. On this podcast, absolutely. So right now you have like 2 courses, right? Already, the first one.
But I chose a platform called Skillshare, and it's more curated, and so people take like hour-long courses, and I didn't expect much. I just sort of, once I started staying home with kids, I kind of wanted to continue being busy because that's just how I'm wired. And so I made a first class, and it was a huge success. It won the best class in that month, I think, of all the new classes. So I sort of didn't expect that, but it was like, okay, and I have students and they're actually following me. Okay, now I have to really deliver. So now I'm actually really, really happy doing this kind of stuff, because it opened up a new possibility for me, a new avenue to not only share my art as like, here are pretty pictures, look at them, but also kind of transfer the knowledge in a way that wasn't necessarily available in the past. And I just feel like sometimes I close my eyes and I'm like, wow, we live in a really, really wonderful time, because none of this was possible 20 years ago. And I'm just so fortunate.
That's amazing. How did you came up with this idea? How did you came up with the idea to do online courses?
Well, the platform that I use to publish my courses also has a lot of experts in different areas, right? So marketing, whatever. So I don't know if you guys ever talk about like Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh yeah. We talked about him just.
Yeah, he's quite a media celebrity, right? And he's Ukrainian, so he's on that platform, teaching his stuff. And they actually approached me. Like I said, I don't normally look for work, but they approached me to be their ambassador because they know I have a lot of followers who are into watercolors. So they already had a bunch of watercolor teachers, and I sort of was like, okay, yeah, I'll check it out. And then I looked at it and I thought, okay, I can be an ambassador, but I can also record my own lesson. And so when the first opportunity I got to actually record a lesson, which was this spring, which is the first time I think I painted during daytime and not at midnight after everyone's asleep. I had good sunlight, and I recorded a class, and it was a relative success, relative to the platform, and very happy because it's a way to make money, it's a way to connect, and it's a way to really share your work in a way that's very fulfilling.
Right. Guys, by the way, we will link the course down below in the description box. So if you want to see it, just click on the link. All the resources that we mentioned in this podcast will be in the description box. So scroll down and
months of free premium access, and now I have more than one class there. And you also obviously get access to all the classes, like Gary Vaynerchuk's classes.
Wow, that's so cool.
So if you're interested, sorry, I didn't mean to plug that, but
no,
thank you for the plug.
I think it's definitely worth it. It looks amazing. Yeah, I'm not a art person at all, but I'm definitely gonna check it out. So Anna, well, you are not a full-time artist, obviously, but what does your typical creative workday look like? Or you don't have typical days as a mom, I guess.
Yeah, no, up until now, it was basically, wake up, go to work, come back. The kids have to cook, the kids go to bed and they're fighting bedtime. So it's getting later and later. And then I would normally paint for a couple hours if I was not completely exhausted, right after 9 until. So, I would sacrifice sleep. It sort of became unsustainable after a while.
Right.
Also, I have to mention, I don't want to sound like a complete pompous ass. I don't do it all on my own. I get tremendous help from grandparents, so from my parents and from my father-in-law, and my husband, obviously. So usually, on weekdays, I would paint really late. Someone would come and help me with, one of the kids, and then I would get a few hours here and there. Right now it's a bit easier because I don't go to work during the day, but the kids are not in school full days, so I get half a day to do what I need to do.
Do you think you will turn this side hustle into full-time career someday? Is that on your list?
I don't, what you caught me at a crossroads, so I'm not quite sure how to answer that, because in a way, it's always been sort of fluid, right? I've been doing coins, I've been doing big illustration projects for 3-4 years now. So I'll never stop that. I mean, hopefully they'll never stop asking me. And so if big illustration work comes up, I'll do it. I think that's what I'm passionate about. I don't really have a lot of other activities. Like I said, I don't really watch TV, or I hate hiking, so I probably would not.
Yeah, that's why you live in Ontario, right? Because you hate hiking. That was one of the reasons why I moved to Vancouver, or to British Columbia.
That's why I don't live in Vancouver, because I'm kind of I prefer to stay at home.
Not an outdoorsy person, right?
That's right. So I'll always paint, whether or not it will become a full-time thing. It all depends on if my kids are doing well, and there's lots of moving parts right now.
Right. So
it's always stability, and like I said, sorry, not to give you a really vague answer. I recognize that I'm very fortunate that it's an option for me to suddenly start producing more and teaching more, and for it to be my full-time job, or I can go back to the office. I'm, like I said, I'm just on the fence right now because we all have these stages in life where we're sort of at the crossroads. So sorry to be vague, but
no, I mean, that's where you are at this point of your life. So thank you for honest answer. What part of your art do you enjoy the most? I mean, what do you like about it? Why are you keep doing it even like after having 2 kids and a full-time job? Why do you keep finding time and energy for art?
Well, you only have 24 hours in a day. And I found that after having kids, you kind of get really, you become aware of how valuable time is, because let's be honest, like most of our time is spent on doing, things that are considered kind of work. And for me, art is never really work. Even if I'm like working on a project, it feels great. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like meditation. And so, as I mentioned before, I suddenly became very aware of how much time I was wasting on like silly TV or whatever. And so I'm trying to do things that are meaningful. And to me, creating is meaningful, whether I'm, working on the project or maybe I'm just doodling with my son, who he likes to draw vacuums, which I'm not. It's not my passion, but as long as we're
so doing random.
Yeah, well, he's a boy. But I think, all that is to say that I make a conscious effort to make time to paint, because I think it's more of a way to spend time it's a meaningful way to spend
it's a
time.
You time, right?
It's definitely a me time. And in terms of, you asked me like, where is it coming from? And I read a very interesting book on brain plasticity. And right now, the name escapes me. No, I think it's called The Brain That Changes Itself. And essentially the brain that changes itself.
Okay, we're going to link this book. We're going to find it and link it in the description as well. Mm-hmm.
It's I don't want to go down that rabbit hole and talk about neuroscience, but essentially there is a theory that we are able to, our brains are able to kind of evolve in a way or open up at certain times in our lives. Mm-hmm. It can be traumatic or something wonderful. And one of those times is actually pregnancy, because your body and your mind are preparing for taking care of another human. And so you kind of become more accepting of ideas. And I feel like it really, that was the reason why I sort of started having all these ideas. And you see it, like sometimes it's random, like flowers, fish, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like I see it in my head and I just painted. It wasn't necessarily like that before I had kids. And so something happened there. And it's not, it starts sounding like a hippie, but I think that what I do believe in is that when we do slow down and kind of have the time to think about what it is that we're passionate about, and perhaps I've always been passionate about art, then you kind of see surprising things. And so I really, at this point in my life, really enjoy it. And I mean, it's really, teaching is really cool when you can share that with other people and they appreciate it. That's just really fulfilling.
So you pretty much made your childhood dream come true.
Yeah,
in a bit different way, probably, but still.
Yeah. Not in the way I could have imagined. There was no internet.
Right? Wow. And this thing with your son painting vacuums, that's interesting. Are your kids picking up from you? Do they like painting and drawing as well? Or so they're more picking up things after their papa, but I think when they do paint, it's usually things that have to do with like technology, and so like there's a lot of like engines and
that kind of stuff. And I don't know what the 2-year-old, what he's painting. Nobody knows, only he knows.
It's like a friend of mine, she has this 4-year-old boy, and he was like, Mom, I just wasted 4 years of my life on studying vacuums. I'm so tired. He's obsessed with vacuums, and he was like, I've wasted 4 years of my life. I mean, what do you mean? You are 4-year-old. They are so cute in this age. That's insane. Yeah. Well, Anna, I mean, the question, have you ever questioned your art? Obviously, you didn't realize how good your art is before companies like Jaguar and Starbucks basically started coming to you. But have you ever questioned your artistic skills and your art in general?
All the time. I think all creative people do. It doesn't matter if you're a painter or a marketer. You always kind of in a way you have to, right? Because that's a way for you to get better, and as long as you do it in a productive way, not in a punitive way. But I think I get what you're trying to ask me. Did I ever doubt that this is a viable career for me? Yeah, I mean, yes. Yes.
And how do you overcome? How do you deal with these moments as an artist? How do you overcome moments like this?
So for me, a way to deal with it was probably not the most healthy way, but avoidance, if I'm being completely honest. That's why I went to business school and just said, I'm not an artist. I'm a spreadsheet artist. I'm going to do that for 10 years or whatever. So yeah, I mean, in a way, I kind of I didn't want to put my heart, open up my heart like that and be vulnerable and really share the things that I wasn't sure about, but they were more kind of personal to me, because art is always personal. So I think, not that going to business school was an easy choice, but it was more like a predictable career path. And to be honest, as an immigrant, and I know this podcast is for your target market is immigrants. Mm-hmm. Unless you're coming in with significant financial kind of backing, you mm-hmm. really have to make a living. And it was just a more practical choice for me to have a career. The nice thing about having a successful career in business and sort of not worrying about getting art clients and worrying about supplies are expensive, right?
Right.
Stuff. I was able to kind of develop my style on my own and only work with brands and people that I really wanted to work with, which is, I think that's a privilege, right? So inadvertently, I basically shaped my path in the way that where I ended up where I am faster than if I went to art school and mm-hmm. tried it that way. But again, I think, life's a journey. So as long as you kind of directionally going in the right, in the place where you want to go, then it doesn't really matter how you get there.
Knowing what you know right now about art, about business, would you do anything differently?
No, I don't think like that. I think that a lot of factors came together to kind of allow me to do the work that I do right now. Again, if it wasn't for social media and the exposure that I was able to get on social media, none of this would be possible. So it doesn't matter how good you are. I think, we have right now the tools that allow us to share whatever it is that you like. It doesn't have to be art. It can be cooking or makeup, whatever. People are able to share. If you're good, you kind of have the whole world watching you. So to say that I did something, I don't think so, because it was at the right time that I posted the Starbucks cup. It was at the right time that I started posting my watercolors.
I think you are not giving yourself enough credit, Anna. It's just no, honestly, I mean, it's a hard work. It's a systems that you have to maintain, building an audience. It's not as easy as you make it sound. But
making it sound easy, I think perhaps it comes across that way because I really like it, but
right,
you know.
Right. And the best part, you don't even have to be good to post your stuff on social media. You can even share your journey, and sometimes it is interesting to watch as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about social media. You can be at whatever level you are, just you can share your journey, you can share your art, and that's the tool that we just can't afford to ignore these days, right?
That's a really good point, actually. A lot of people look for, like, we're all looking to relate, right? And so looking kind of at your progress and what you're learning, like, you don't have to be an amazing master. And I, by no means am I like a guru in watercolors. I always say that, like, I'm learning every day myself. But yeah, like, just sharing what it is you love, I can definitely take you places, and along the way you can discover something that you didn't even know about yourself. So
right. But it is so scary to post that very first picture on social media, very first picture of your creation or something, because you're afraid of being judged or being rejected. Did you have such feelings when you first starting on the social media with your artworks?
I had a bit of an advantage because I had some work that I've done, like, I already went to art school, so I had a couple.
So you knew that your art is
things, yeah. So I posted a few, but to be honest with you, I don't know if I actually deleted my first posts. I was I really did not know what I was doing when it comes to ink and watercolor. Like 6 years ago, I should probably do like a, you know, before and after or whatever those posts they do, like kind of showing your progress.
That'd be so cool. I love this kind of pictures.
For my own benefit, like to see how far I've come. But you know the whole theory of like 10,000 hours or whatever they say. Like it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you're doing it consistently, you'll get better. And yeah, you're right. The process and the journey, people love seeing that.
Right. I mean, it's a great way to wrap up this podcast. But we have 3 questions that we like to ask our guests, and I'm really interested what your answer is going to be. Okay, Anna. So, what is a book that you would recommend to a friend? I mean, you already mentioned one good book, and we will link it in the description box. But are there any other books you can recommend to a good friend?
Well, I'm just looking at my shelf where I have a tiny shelf in the art room with really small number of books that I really love. So I really enjoyed Stumbling on Happiness. It's by Daniel Gilbert. Mm-hmm. And the one particular concept there that really affected how I see kind of my daily life, and also how I look at kind of the bigger picture, is the happiness stretching theory.
Happiness stretching. Wow, interesting.
Yeah. And essentially what it means is that our level of happiness, our base level, is always the same. And so it doesn't matter if you're like, once you get, say you win a lottery, and there are a lot of research. It's not a theory. It's like there's a lot of research to back it up. People who win the lottery, you know, obviously they're elated and happy, but then after a couple of months, they actually feel the same or worse. And so the same goes for like tragic events, like divorce or maybe a death in a family. Eventually, you kind of go back to your base level. And so what that means is we all kind of have this, bandwidth of how much bad and how much good we can take. And you shouldn't be chasing. I think that's sort of what I got out of it, is that you can't be chasing like the highs all the time. And you also shouldn't get down on yourself if the lows are really low, because eventually we'll kind of go back to how we normally feel. And you really have to work on feeling good about yourself at the base level, not when you win a lottery or whatever, or you fly to New York to get your Starbucks cup.
I think I've seen his TED Talk about it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the TED Talk just went viral. It was huge, like maybe like 3 years ago or something. Yeah, I agreed. Like, I didn't know he has a book. Actually, I'm gonna Google it. Thank you. That's an excellent suggestion. Okay, yeah, we're gonna link it in this podcast as well. And another question, I'm really curious what your answer gonna be. Anna, what advice would you give your to your younger self? To 11-year-old Anna.
In what respect?
Who's selling her stuff on Andrievsky Uzviz.
Or like a professional advice?
No, whatever, you personal advice, life advice.
Personal life advice would be that's maybe different, but if it comes to like your work or whatever you create, touchy subject, but I really regret like giving away and selling the stuff that I was working on. Almost none of my paintings from when I was like 11, 12, 13, 14. I have a few that we brought over to Toronto, but I don't have a lot. Most of them were sold, and which was really cool at the time, but I wish I had them. So I would go back and say, please don't sell your work.
Oh, okay. Interesting advice. Not very business-minded, but interesting to hear.
No, well, you asked me for like an honest what I would say.
No. It's a great advice. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool to have something to compare to, right? To see where you came from, like where it all started.
Yeah, I think I just get very nostalgic because I miss I kind of tend to idealize my childhood and like all the amazing times I had in Kiev, and so maybe that's just the nostalgia.
I had the best childhood ever in Kiev. We had this little teeny tiny apartment close to Kontraktova Ploshcha.
Oh, amazing. I love that area.
Oh gosh, I loved it too. I had the best childhood ever. I wouldn't change a thing.
Same
Growing
here.
up, yeah, with like all my buddies in the yard or whatever. It was awesome. We were having the times of our lives. So sure. I can relate, Anna. I can relate to you being nostalgic. That's how I feel sometimes. Yeah. Anna, don't be modest. What is your best personal quality that makes you successful? As an artist, as a mom, as a professional, what is your best quality? It sounds like a question for the interview, but for like work interview, but it's not. What is the one best thing about you? Best quality?
Wow. Can I redirect it to my husband or my mother?
Yeah, I mean, you can, but it's going to be a whole different podcast, I guess.
Well, I think not always, but most of the time I know how to kind of cool down and relax, like not in the moment, definitely not. But kind of, I recognize that sometimes I need to get some perspective if I don't understand something. So I kind of take the time to do that.
That's
I think it works with work projects, like stepping away to get perspective is something that I practice on a regular basis.
Oh, but that's so hard sometimes. It's just something.
No. For me, it's impossible to do at the moment most of the time, which is why I try to actually proactively make the time to think about things. And it can look as easy as, when it's the end of the year, you kind of take a step back and do a kind of, what have I accomplished this year? What do I want to accomplish next year? Or if you look at the relationship, you kind of, take a deep breath and say, okay, how far have we evolved and what can be changed? I mean, you can't do that in the moment. You have to take the time, which is why I'm encouraging my husband to go on vacation right now.
That's a good move. Smooth move. Wow. Yeah, for me, it's really hard just like to take time to stop, and this crazy graphics and everything is just so hard to take time just for yourself, just to analyze everything, to look back. Yeah, but sometimes that's something you need to do, that's for sure. Well, thank you, Anna, for this inspiring, amazing podcast. I hope to hear you again in like a few years when you're going to be, who knows, maybe you're going to be world-renowned artist. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? I know it's a hard question to answer, but what's next for you, Anna?
I think you've asked me that before, and I was already having trouble answering just because I'm at the stage in my life where I am doing the kind of the tally up of what's been done up until now. And so ask me again in a couple, maybe 6 months or a year, and I promise I'll have a really good answer.
Will do.
Okay.
Will do, Anna. Well, thank you so much for finding time in your busy like time schedule. Like, I have no idea how do you like manage it all, like 2 kids and art and husband. Wow.
I have a lot of help. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. And it's really lovely to talk to someone from Kiev. It's just, now I'm going to go find my photo album and get all nostalgic.
Now I'm going to go and book my tickets. So to Ukraine. Yeah. So it's going to be
have a lovely summer.
Thank you so much. And enjoy your 2-second summer in Toronto as well.
Ooh.
Bye.
Here, bye.
Мені аж захотілося збігати в найближчий Starbucks, щоб купити собі горнятко лате з горіховим молочком. Це мій улюблений напій в Старбаксі. До речі, от, власне, як цікаво складається, Анна, власне, стала відомою і популярною, тому що її роботи почали вірусно шерити в соціальних медіа, і, власне, соціальні медіа дали їй ту таку велику її зараз таку популярність, і про неї дізнається світ через соціальні медіа. І, до речі, в Анни також є дуже успішний, дуже цікавий інстаграм-канал. Ми обов'язково лінкнемо всі ці ресурси, про які ми згадували в нашому подкасті в інфобоксі, тому скрольте вниз, дивіться, там багато всяких цінних, цікавих лінків. І, власне, оскільки ми вже так частково зачепили сьогодні тему соціальних медіа, якщо вам це цікаво, наступного тижня в нас буде гість, який буде розказувати про те, як за допомогою соціальних мереж збільшити продажі в бізнесі. Та, дуже цікаво, насправді, незалежно від того, чи ви просто користувач, чи ви взагалі не в соціальних медіа, чи ви тільки плануєте там бути, вам цей подкаст буде дійсно цінним і цікавим. Ми наступного тижня будемо говорити з молодим, але дуже успішним маркетологом, який нещодавно, до речі, переїхав з Нью-Йорка в LA, і про це ми так само з ним поговоримо. Але основне, про що ми будемо говорити, це про те, як збільшити продажі за допомогою Фейсбука, Інстаграма і інших соціальних мереж. Друзі, наступного тижня буде цікаво. Буде цікаво, включайтеся, робіть собі горнятко кави, слухайте нас кожного четверга, бо ми для вас маємо багато всього цікавого. Ну і щоб не пропустити наші подкасти, підписуйтесь на нас обов'язково, підписуйтесь на нас на всіх можливих джерелах, додавайтеся в групі Facebook. Ми радо і щиро завжди приймаємо нових іммігрант-порадівців в наші ряди. Та й таке, як то кажуть. Зустрінемося наступного четверга. Дякую, що ви з нами.
Дякую, що слухали подкаст «ImmigrantPorada». Більше цікавого на www.iporada.com/podcast.